free agency, basically over its time to hand each NFL team a off-season draft grade solely for free agency, so I guess it's a free agent draft grade. We're going to jump right into it, see where your favorite team ends up on the grading scale. We have A+, A minus, it's basic. We got every grade on there, okay? We're not jumping any grades. So starting off with the Arizona Cardinals, who they really only signed Josh Sweat. I know they got Jacoby Brissett. They re-signed some key pieces. I like the Josh Sweat move. It was good. However, they're not really moving the needle. I'm going to put the Cardinals in a C. I don't think they have too much to be excited about, but they had like 7 wins last season, so maybe they'll get 1 or 2 more. The Atlanta Falcons, man, they have had a disappointing offseason. I'm not going to lie. Falcons fans, I don't know where y'all are at with this. I don't know if you agree, but D+ is where I'm at. Haven't fixed the safety position. Haven't really improved on edge rushing. They haven't really done anything to improve the roster there. I don't really like any of the moves they've made because it's very few and far between. The Baltimore Ravens, being able to re-sign Ronnie Stanley is a huge pickup for them. If they would have lost him, I don't know how their O-line would have been. I think solely for that move, they're going to have to be at least... I mean, they didn't have much to work with to begin with, and they signed DeAndre Hopkins, which is fine. I still think they need another receiver. I didn't really... I don't know. I think it's a B. I think the Ravens belong in B, and I think that that's totally fair. The Buffalo Bills had a fantastic offseason. They might not have signed a bunch of players. They got Josh Palmer, but they were able to extend Josh Allen. They extended Deion Dawkins, I believe, and then they extended Gregory Rousseau recently. They were Khalil Shakir they extended. Basically, they have extended a bunch of their players, pushing money a little bit. They're saving themselves money in the future. I really, really like the money moves they made. It's kind of the opposite of the Cowboys, who waited till the last second to pay their players. The Bills are getting it done now. I loved their moves this season, so we are going to put them all the way up at A. I think the Bills are our first A-tier team for free agency. I think they deserve that grade. The Carolina Panthers. All right, so I was a little bit disappointed in their free agency. I don't hate what they've done, but they missed out on a lot of guys. They missed out on Milton Williams. I thought that Cameron Bynum or Andre Cisco would go there, but they weren't able to snag either of those guys. I don't think that they got the best safety that they could have gotten, which they desperately needed. Andre Cisco would have been the perfect safety for their scheme that they run. They didn't really... They just didn't... man, the Panthers... it wasn't great. But they did sign some key players. They were able to give him a C. I don't think they did too much to help Bryce Young, but they didn't have a bad offseason either. It just is one of those that's like, well, oh well. The Chicago Bears. Now we're getting into some good free agent moves. They really improved the offensive line. Trading for Joe Thuney was massive. Then they signed Drew Dalman, which was a fantastic move. And I'm sorry if I don't remember every free agent signing. I'm going off the dome. I don't have anything in front of me here to reference. But I loved the Drew Dalman move. They improved on the defense. They got somebody on the edge. I'm struggling to remember who it was. Or they got a defensive tackle. I remember that they got somebody. Let's pull it up. Bears offseason moves. Because I know the Bears had a good offseason, and I don't want to forget. Oh, they got Grady Jarrett. They got Dio. Drew Dalman. They got Grady Jarrett. They got Joe Thuney. Jonah Jackson they traded for. I don't really love that move. That's pretty much it, I guess, according to ESPN. But I liked the Grady Jarrett move and Dio Adeyingbo. Adeyingbo. Is that how you say his name? He's good. I like that for the defensive line. They got Sweat, Grady Jarrett, and Dio there. That's a fantastic move, as well as a good offensive line. Now, they could use another receiver. They also could use a better running back, but they can address those needs in the draft. With that being said, I don't think they deserve A+. I don't think it's an A because they still... it's an A. It's an A. They improved the trenches, which is what Ben Johnson wants to do. It's what he likes to do. Can't blame him there. On to the Cincinnati Bengals. Honestly, as much as this might be a polarizing take, I love them re-signing T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I think that was the right move. You have to pay those guys. Those guys are very good. Joe Burrow is going to be set for his career. You can improve the defense through the draft and value players. We've seen teams do it. The Patriots never paid their defensive players a hefty price tag. They just had a lot of quality guys. They brought in vets. That they had a culture built in. Obviously, that's not something the Bengals exactly are known for, is culture, but that can maybe change with them obviously having a good defense. Maybe some players would be willing willing to take discounts to go there once they get a little bit older, but they just need to hit on some draft picks on the defense and they'll be all right. Maybe trading away Trey Hendrickson would be the move. I would personally get rid of him now. He's going to be hitting the point where he's falling off a little bit, and if you can get a first round pick and more for him, I think you have to. I think the Bengals had a B+ offseason. They were able to retain BJ Hill, which also was huge. I think he got a 3-year, $33 million deal, which is great. The Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns draft grade. This is going to come to no surprise, but we're putting them in D. What did the Cleveland Browns do? What did they do this offseason? Please, someone enlighten me on what the Cleveland Browns actually did to improve their roster this offseason. What kind of move did they make to become a team that could sneak in as the 7th seed? Because there's 3 other teams in the division that can do that. What have the Browns done? They extended Myles Garrett. Congratulations. That is what's keeping you out of F tier. He was already on the team, though. He was already under contract. I don't love that move I liked the move for the Browns, keeping Myles Garrett. You had to keep him because that was the only way we were going to keep Denzel Ward. However, who is the quarterback going to be? Who is he really throwing to? You have Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. Fine. You have David Njoku. Fine. The offensive line isn't great anymore. The defense isn't great. You need some linebackers. You could use a defensive tackle. You could use another piece in the secondary, at least in corners, and you could use a safety. What did they do this offseason to get better and make them have a chance to make the playoffs? Nothing. And a quarterback from this draft is not going to do it. So they need to get an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson, or else this season is going to be another one where they're picking in the top 3. It is what it is. Browns are a D. Oh, let's keep this hate train going because the Dallas Cowboys have had the worst offseason in the entire NFL. They have done nothing. You signed Miles Sanders and you signed Javonte Williams. I like Javonte Williams, but he has not been the same since that injury. Why would you get those 2 guys when you could go get a guy like J.K. Dobbins, who is young, came off his best season of his career? I know he missed a couple of games, but behind that Cowboys offensive line, you don't think he could be elite, while also signing one of those 2 guys. Go get Dobbins and Williams. What do you need Miles Sanders for? You have the worst running back room in the league. Now you have to spend a first-round pick on a running back, which you shouldn't have to do because you could have just signed J.K. Dobbins, or you could have signed Rico Dowdle back and then drafted a running back in the 3rd round. But no, here we are, Dallas Cowboys. You guys are going to be drafting a running back at pick number 20. You're going to get Amarian Hampton or you're going to get Ashton Genty when you could have just had J.K. Dobbins and gotten a good level of production and drafted a receiver like Matthew Golden to pair with CeeDee Lamb and really create a great offense. But no, here we are. Micah Parsons, unhappy. DeMarcus Lawrence left. These are not good moves for the Cowboys. They are our first F-tier grade. Cowboys had a bad offseason. Do not get me started about them. The Denver Broncos. Now, this is a polar opposite take here. The Denver Broncos have cooked in free agency. They did everything I was hoping that they would do going into the season. Look, they improved their tight end, which now they don't have to draft one in the 1st round. That is a huge thing, getting Evan Ingram. And then they also were able to get, I'm blanking on, they got Dre Greenlaw and Talona Uafunga, I think that's how you say his name, for basically, for nothing. Those were bargain deals. Uafunga, $15 million a year, maybe not as much, but Dre Greenlaw getting 3 years, $37.5 million is a steal for a linebacker that we would all consider a top 10 inside linebacker. I at least would consider him. The Broncos had a great offseason. They still need a running back, obviously, but now in the draft, they just have to focus on running back, wide receiver 2, and I would say a cornerback. And if I'm the Denver Broncos and I'm sitting there picking, right? Oh, wait, did I say the Cowboys were picking 20? The Broncos were picking 20. I'm sorry. You're sitting there if you're the Broncos and you're like, what if Will Johnson is on the board at pick 20? When you know it's a deep running back class and it's a deep wide receiver class, why not go get Will Johnson? Will Johnson, Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, and Jaquan McMillan, that is really the no-fly zone. Riley Moss is good, but I'm sorry, he's not ready to be cornerback 2. However, Will Johnson as your cornerback 2, the Denver Broncos defense already is very good. It's elite. Top of the class. But adding Will Johnson, my goodness. And it just makes me excited thinking about it for the Broncos. Look, I hate the Broncos, but thinking about how they set up the draft through the offseason, they were perfect. They worked it masterfully. They could go get an offensive lineman. They still have money to play with. If they want to go sign a running back like J.K. Dobbins, like I mentioned, I wouldn't hate that. Or maybe even trading for CMC. I wouldn't do that. I think that's too far. If you have to trade good capital, I wouldn't do that. Just draft a running back. It's okay. But the Broncos are going to be our first A-plus grade here for the season. Look, if you're coming from TikTok, you would know that there is another team in the A-plus, and you know that they're coming up eventually, but if you're on the YouTube channel, you're going to have to wait to see who the next A-plus isn't, because it is not the Detroit Lions here. They got DJ Reed, nothing really much outside of that. They lost Kevin Zeitler, but they'll be okay. They're going to be fully healthy next season, which is all that they can really ask for. Maybe getting another edge rusher would be nice. I'm not sure. I don't think that they replace Zadarius Smith with anybody. I wouldn't be surprised if he re-signed there. But for the Detroit Lions, nothing crazy. I think that they belong in the C-plus tier. I think the DJ Reed move is good. He's better than Carlton Davis, and they got him for cheaper. So I like that move. The Green Bay Packers, they haven't really addressed the wide receiver one need like Josh Jacobs wanted them to. But I like the moves they made. It was very far and few between. Aaron Banks was a good signing for that 4-year, $77 million deal. They got Nate Hobbs, who's a solid corner. He just gets injured a lot. I think they had a fine offseason. I do think it was better than the Cardinals and Panthers. But I don't think it was better than the Lions. So we're actually going to move the Lions up to B- and put the Packers in a C+. I don't think they had a great offseason. They didn't address the wide receiver one needs, but they didn't exactly have a ton of needs anyway. They could have used another corner. I think Nate Hobbs, they could have went and gotten a Carlton Davis. They could have paid that extra a little bit. Could have got DJ Reed. Could have paid Charvarius Ward, but they did not do those things. So with that being said, I think C+ is fair. The Houston Texans, everyone is clowning on them for getting rid of Laramie Tunsil, who's the most penalized tackle in the league, and getting rid of Kenyon Green, who was one of the worst guards in the entire NFL. That move made too much sense, and everyone's coming at them for getting draft capital out of those two guys when they just signed Cam Robinson to be their left tackle, which is fine. He's not better than Laramie Tunsil, obviously, but you're going to address the offensive line in the draft, I guess, is the plan. They went and got Christian Kirk. They went and got Braxton Berrios. Now they have some depth in the receiving room for when everyone gets injured like happened last season. Stephon Diggs is gone, but that's okay. You got Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Christian Kirk, Braxton Berrios, Robert Woods, Xavier Hutchinson. Their receiver room is deep. The running backs are good. They signed some other... Oh, they went and got C.J. Gardner-Johnson in that Eagles trade when they traded Green there, and that is a huge move for the secondary. And I think that they were also able to get another corner, but I'm spacing on who that is. But the Houston Texans, man, they belong in A-. They obviously didn't improve the offensive line this year, which was their probably biggest position need. But I still like the moves that they made. Getting rid of 2 offensive linemen right now was definitely the move. You got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 3rd-round pick, 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick for 2 offensive linemen. I think that you got to take that there if you're the Houston Texans. The Indianapolis Colts, they had a pretty good offseason. They did lose 2 offensive linemen to the Vikings, but I like the Charvarius Ward signing. They signed somebody else on the... Oh, they got a safety as well. They got Javon Holland. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Giants got Javon Holland. But the Colts, they went and got Charvarius Ward. Let's actually go ahead and look, because I know that they had more moves, and I am going to be totally fair to the Indianapolis Colts here. I want to see who all they've signed. Oh, yeah, they got Cameron Bynum. That is totally right. I thought that they got a safety. I just wasn't sure who it was. I like that move a lot. It looks like they extended Grover Stewart as well, their interior defensive lineman. Yeah. Yep, I love that move for them. They didn't really improve the receiver room, unfortunately, for them, but I love the Ward signing. That is a good move right there that they had here, which I'm also blanking on already. Oh, yeah, Cameron Bynum. Yeah, I like those 2 moves a lot. Those are solid moves, making the defense good. I think that they belong... Sorry, not in D. I think that they also belong in A-. I think they had a very good offseason. I think it could have been better, though. You didn't really replace those offensive linemen. Your defense still could use some linebackers, maybe another defensive lineman like an edge rusher, but I like the moves that they made. I like the cornerback signing. I like the safety signing. So, with that being said, the Colts had an A- offseason here. Let's keep it pushing here. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm a little bit unmoved by the moves that they made. They did sign a lot of players. If you look at the transaction log, they signed a lot of players. But they didn't really sign any impact players. I'm not feeling too confident about them. They didn't get any offensive linemen that I love. They kind of aren't really helping out Trevor Lawrence as much as guys like Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams or Drake May are getting helped out, which is unfortunate to see because he has a lot of potential. I'm not really moved. This is another C team with the Jaguars. They didn't do too much. The Kansas City Chiefs. They lost Joe Thuney, but they were able to keep Trey Smith, the younger player. Not the better player, but the younger player. I like that move. They signed a cornerback. They signed, what's his name? Christian Fulton, I think. That's a good move. They lost Justin Reed, though. They had more losses than they did positives, but they're going to be more healthy next season. I'm gonna have to. I mean, they didn't do anything this offseason. How would it be fair of me to put them low? Because they didn't. They just didn't do anything. Yeah, they didn't. I am on, unless I'm missing something. They didn't do anything. I'm putting the Chiefs in C minus. They didn't have a great draft there. The Las Vegas Raiders. I kind of love their offseason. I like the Geno Smith move. I think they could have signed a running back, and a receiver, but they haven't done either of those things. I like the moves that Pete Carroll's kind of making there to make it more of a win now team. You go ahead and draft a running back now. They went and signed Christian Ellis from the Patriots, or they offered him a tender at least. Pretty sure they got a cornerback as well. Let's see. Let's see again. I'm really looking unprepared right now, but we're going ahead. We're making sure that we're accurate. Jeremy Chin, that's the safety they got. I mean, I don't love that move, but they also re-signing Malcolm Kuntz was huge. They got Max Crosby to a multi-year deal. However, I forgot that they signed Alex Kappa and Eric Stokes, which I would say are low-key negatives, but they got a Landon Roberts, which is pretty good. But yeah, again, Malcolm Kuntz re-signing was huge. They weren't able to re-sign a lot of their defensive players like Trevon Moherg and Robert Spillane or Nate Hobbs. They've really missed out on a lot of players, but it's okay. I think the Raiders, I think they deserve a C+. I like them getting, actually, I'd put them B-. They got a quarterback. That's huge. That's huge. You got a quarterback for a third-round pick. That's massive. He's a starting quarterback. He's a top 15 quarterback for a third-round pick. Automatically puts you in B-. I just didn't love the outside moves, as I just said. Malcolm Kuntz not really moving the needle. I like the move, but don't love it. Alex Kappa brings you down. Eric Stokes brings you down. I'd rather have Nate Hobbs than those guys. The Chargers, they got Najee Harris. They got Khalil Mack back. Outside of that, they didn't do crazy moves, but I think they're going to address more things in the draft. I think they had a solid offseason. I'll put them in the same tier as the Raiders and Lions. I like the moves they made. Didn't love them. They could have improved a little bit more there. I think they got an offensive lineman as well. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing someone. But the Los Angeles Rams, we're going to put them... I don't love letting go of Cooper Kupp, but you got Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua on the same team. I love that. I love the Rams. They might have the second best team, maybe the best team in the NFC. As far as their free agency goes, I thought it was good. I liked what they did. I think they belong in that same Bengals tier. I don't think it's quite A. They could have improved the offensive line a little bit. Maybe improve the secondary a little bit more. I don't know if they signed a cornerback this offseason. I feel like they had to have because they needed one. But, yeah, like Tre'Davious White's not doing nothing for me. Ronnie Rivers, no. They got Tutu Atwell. Their only signing was Devontae Adams. But they also were able to keep Matthew Stafford, which is huge because there were rumors of him going elsewhere. The Miami Dolphins, I'm about to go on the same rant I went about the Cleveland Browns. What are you doing? What are you doing, Miami Dolphins? What are you doing to Tua? Nothing. Why would you do this? Why? You guys didn't do anything. Nothing to improve the team. You lost Javon Holland. You didn't replace him with anything worthwhile. This is a D-. This is a D-. This is worse than the Browns. Because you actually have potential to make the playoffs in your division. You have a division that's kind of weak outside of the Bills. You can sneak in there in the AFC. You could also sneak into winning the division. We all thought that the Dolphins could win the division last year fully healthy, and they just stunk. And then they didn't add anything. This is disgusting. Teams like the Dolphins and the Browns and the Cowboys, what are you doing to your fans? They all have hope. What are we doing? Nothing. I get you tried with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and it just hasn't worked out quite how you wanted. Then trade Hill. Get something for him. I apologize if it's a little loud. But moving on to our next A+, not to spoil, the Minnesota Vikings are an A+ free agency here. I posted a TikTok about this, so if you're from TikTok, you already know, but Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Rondale Moore, Harrison Smith, Byron Murphy, Isaiah Rodgers, Jonathan Allen, and Javon Hargrave. Absolutely crazy offseason from the Minnesota Vikings. They got 2 top 15 defensive tackles. They have the best running back duo in the league, one of the best at least. The Vikings had a great offseason, man. Obviously an A+. They're doing everything for J.J. McCarthy to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. And then we got another A+ offseason, the New England Patriots. No bias. Robert Spillane, great signing. Harold Landry, great signing. Milton Williams, great signing. Carlton Davis, didn't love the signing. Don't love how much they're paying him. But having him with Christian Gonzalez, my goodness, the secondary is going to look loaded. A whole lot different. Also, they got Jack Gibbons, I think is his name. He's pretty good. They were able to get They got Kavion Chaseon, I think is his name, or something like that. Kaveon, Chasen. He's good from the Raiders. I think he had like 6 sacks last season. They didn't address wide receiver, unfortunately, but they only have to do that in the draft. There's not much else that they have to do. Offensive line, they went and got Morgan Moses, which also they could do. Maybe it's not an A+ for the Patriots, but they're better than the Bills and Bears off seasons in my opinion. But we'll put them in A. Looking at it, yeah, they didn't have as good as an offseason as the Broncos and Vikings. To be fair, they could have addressed offensive line, running back, and wide receiver, and they didn't. So it's only fair. I won't be biased, I guess. The New Orleans Saints, they never really do much. They got I think they re-signed Chase Young. They got Justin Reed. I like the moves for the defense. It's just like, oh well, like you're not going to go anywhere. You got Derek Carr. I'm sorry. It was a fine offseason. I think they belong in C. They made some moves, but then they didn't really improve much. I can't see them really moving the needle. That division is always up in the air. They can always win it. They can always be last. It is what it is. The Giants, I actually like their offseason. Their defense is looking scary. They got the best young corners in the league. They have a great depth in that room. They have 2 good linebackers, Micah McFadden and some Bobby Okereke, I believe. Their defensive line is insane. They got Javon Holland. I love the moves they made. He's not Xavier McKinney. You could have just kept him, but I like the moves that they made in the right direction. Good move by the GM. Let's put the Giants in a B+ tier. I thought they did a good job. Actually, A-. I didn't love Sterling Shepard, but you did retain him, not Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. You didn't still need that wide receiver. I like that move. The New York Jets. They got Justin Fields. I don't hate that. They let Devontae Adams walk. They're going to let Aaron Rodgers walk. I like those moves for them. It's actually a good thing, I'd say, which can boost them up. Didn't really do much, though, to replace the cornerbacks that they lost in DJ Reed. Not really moving too much. I think that they belong in C+, kind of like the Packers. They didn't do too many moves, but you like the moves. The Philadelphia Eagles, they had a great offseason again. Darius Slay is gone. James Bradbury's gone. Those guys, I get it. Oh well. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, big loss, but they got a guard back since they're losing Mekhi Becton. Where did Mekhi Becton go? I know he signed somewhere. Did he go to the Colts? Oh, the Chargers got Mekhi Becton. Hold up. Oh, hang on. B+. B+. I didn't even realize they got Mekhi Becton. Moving him up. The Eagles, they lost a lot of key players. But, yeah, no, they didn't cook. What am I even going on about? They did not cook. What did the Eagles cook up? Nothing. Their roster is still very good. I don't know where I was going with the Eagles there. They didn't replace their corners, but they already have them in the draft. I kind of like the moves when you're thinking about it money-wise. You couldn't pay Milton Williams because you know you have to pay Jalen Carter. You're going to have to pay Jordan Davis a little bit. You're going to have to pay Mitchell, Cooper DeJean eventually. I like the moves. You're kind of saving yourself money while also being able to keep an elite defense. I would put them, they kind of did the Bills moves, but just not as good. They didn't really sign anybody, so I'll put them in B with the Ravens. I think that's totally fair for the Eagles. Maybe they belong a little bit higher, but we're on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who still do not have a quarterback as of making this video, which means, what are they doing? You got Mason Rudolph. I like the DK Metcalf move, actually. The receiver room is nice. I don't care what anybody says. DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and Calvin Austin is a good wide receiver room. They still don't really have a running back. They have Kenneth Gainwell and Jalen Warren, so 2 of the same guys. That move didn't make too much sense. They're doing a lot of things that's like, what are you doing? They signed a cornerback that I'm spacing out on, but it's Darius Slay. They got Darius Slay. He's a little bit washed, but I don't hate it for the Steelers there. I think that they belong in that C+, maybe B- tier. I'll put them B- because they still need a quarterback, but I like DK Metcalf. I like that they got a cornerback. They just need a quarterback. So maybe I'm doing this a little bit too early. They could be up to B if they signed a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers. So they have room for improvement. On to the last 5 teams. I'll try to speed run this. It's been a long video. 49ers fans, you guys are suffering right now. You guys lost a lot of key players, a lot of defensive players, 3 starters, maybe even more if I'm missing. You lost 4 starters plus Jordan Mason. You lost Aaron Banks. Yeah, you lost a lot of stuff. Trent Williams is on his way out the door. And you haven't really done anything to re-sign those guys. The 49ers, yeah, that's a D offseason. That's a D. It's not an F. Because you can't pay everyone. It is what it is. You still have a good roster. I liked getting rid of Debo, so that's kind of keeping you out of F tier. You didn't need him anymore. And you got something good. Not really. You got a late pick for him, but it's better than nothing. You don't have to pay him anymore, so it's fine. Moving on to the Seahawks. I love the Seahawks offseason. Getting Sam Darnold is fine. I would have rather had Geno Smith, but getting Cooper Kupp, fantastic move for them. I like the defensive re-signings they had in Ernest Jones. They re-signed somebody else as well. Oh, they got DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah, the Seahawks had a good offseason. I'm gonna put them in B plus. Just because of that Geno Sam Darnold move. It's a little bit odd, but they don't really have any money tied to Sam Darnold. It's only really a 1-year prove-it deal. Not really paying him too much. It says 3 years, 100 mil, but it's like 1 year is only guaranteed. So actually, that's an A- offseason for the Seattle Seahawks. I think they may be the best division in the team, or best team in the division if the Rams didn't exist, because the Rams are great, but Seahawks are seem to be the clear second right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they had a good offseason. I think we're gassing it up a little bit too much. Hassan Reddick isn't exactly good, and everybody's gassing him up. That 1 year, 14 mil. It's going to be helpful because they need edge rushing, but just draft James Pierce if he's there. Still like the moves, though. Getting Chris Godwin back's huge. Their receiving room looks good. Didn't do much to improve the defense, though, which was really the bad part of the team, but I think they're going to do that in the draft. I like the Hassan Reddick move, so it's really just one of those, like, B. They did what they needed to do with re-signing their key players, got rid of Alex Kappa. So I feel like they're on par with the Ravens and Eagles. Last two teams, the Tennessee Titans. What did they do? What did they do? Someone enlighten me on what the Titans did. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what they did. Let's see what they did. They didn't do nothing. Titans offseason moves. Let's see what they did. Oh, wow, they released Chidobe Awuzie. They got Van Jefferson. Wow, Xavier Woods, don't love that. Brandon Allen. Oh, yeah, they're the team that paid Dan Moore $82 million for 4 years. Why? Why would you do that? I totally forgot. That was like the first day of free agency. Yeah, Dan Moore, 82 mil. That puts you in D-. I'm sorry. I know you needed the left tackle, and now you can move your first round pick last year to the right side, but he is not a good tackle. He's not worth, or he's fine. He's a fine tackle. He's not worth $82 million, though. That was a crazy overpay. That's going to look, Steelers fans are laughing at y'all as you're going to the bank. The Washington Commanders are the last team. I would say that their offseason grade, what did they do? What did they do? It's been a long video, guys, okay? I can't remember every single move that every single team does. Give me a break. All right. Oh, yeah, they paid Javon Kinlaw. I didn't love that. But they were able to get Jeremy McNichols. They got Will Harris for safety. They got Bobby Wagner back, Zach Ertz back, John Bates, Tress Way, their punter, Marcus Mariota. Oh, they got Jonathan Jones and Deatrius Wise from New England. I like that move for them a little bit. Aside from that, though, they didn't really do too much to improve the team. They got Nate Herbig. That's not bad. Clennon Farrell. They got some offensive line. They just got depth. They didn't need too much. They'll probably draft a corner and a receiver in the upcoming draft, maybe a running back, but I thought they had a good offseason. I think the Commanders deserve to be in the B tier for their free agency. This is what each NFL team's free agent grade is looking like for me. You can just look at it yourself. I won't make you listen to me reading all of them, but Broncos and Vikings at the top with A+, and our bottom teams are going to be the Cowboys, Dolphins, Titans, Browns, and 49ers. They had bad off seasons. They can still improve in the draft, not saying that they're going to be bad teams, just saying that their free agency wasn't great. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Check out the links in the description if you want to listen to the podcast, if you want to follow me on Instagram, if you just want to show some support. Thank you for watching this video, and let me know what you agree with.